We head to Christchurch now in the High Court victory of a tower insurance policyholder who successfully sued his insurer for not rebuilding his earthquake-damaged home and for withholding from him the fact they had a document saying it should be rebuilt. Now, the High Court ruled in Greg Young's favour last month, saying Tower's behaviour was a serious breach of the obligation of good faith. Victory for the Christchurch family after 6 long years, and life could go on, except it hasn't. And as you'll hear, Greg Young is still fighting with Tower. But first, some background, starting with the reasons the Young family continued their action against their insurer Tower for so very long.
The first was that we really were forced into the situation, and their offer to us was around $360,000 to repair the house, which wouldn't have gone anywhere near to doing anything. And so we effectively had no choice. And the other was I couldn't believe that they would just continually refuse to acknowledge the actual damage. And how they were getting professionals to ignore the damage as well. So on one level, there was the fact that what they'd offered wouldn't actually fix anything, so we had to dig our toes in. And two, we needed to get people to actually tell the truth.
And what you didn't know, I think, for a very long time was that, because there's lots of kind of he says, she says interpretations of damage in Christchurch, inevitably after earthquakes of that size. But in fact, Tower had a document telling them how bad the damage actually was and that it was a rebuild.
Yeah, they did. And that's quite astonishing. They kept a number of documents from us. There was the one that they had from day one, June 2011, saying that the house couldn't be repaired. And ironically, I talked to the construction expert that came through the house, and he said, "Look, watch this space. They'll send someone through in a couple of weeks who'll say that it's fine." And they did. And then his reports, I didn't know it existed. It disappeared off the face of the earth.
So wait a sec. Sorry, he predicted exactly what happened.
Yeah, he did.
So he went through, wrote a report that you didn't see that said it was a rebuild, and he told you that the insurer would respond by saying it wasn't a rebuild.
Yes, he did.
A serious breach of the defendant's obligation of good faith, said High Court Judge David Gendel, talking about Tower.
Yes, yeah, and the thing with that judgment as well is that there was more to it that Justice Gendel didn't write about. It wasn't just the one report that they had from us. We had a Privacy Act request put in for all documents, and they had another report from us through that as well.
So sorry, forgive me, because under the terms of the Privacy Act, and I'm sure everyone listening knows this, you are entitled to material that's about you.
Yes.
And they withheld material that was about you that directly and explicitly said your house was a rebuild.
No, the one that they held through the Privacy Act request was a geotechnical engineer's report that supported my geotech engineer's report. So it wasn't about what was the house being a rebuild. It was about what needed to be done to the land. But yeah, they withheld that one.
Which had a direct bearing, of course, on the cost, right?
It did, yes, yeah, absolutely.
So when you discovered all this stuff, and I suspect there must have been some part of you that had a lingering sense, an ongoing sense, that this material might exist, when you discovered it all, and when you won hands down in the High Court, I mean, Justice Gendel's decision is absolutely unequivocal. What was your take on it all?
On one hand, I suppose it was great in the fact that I felt justified. On the other, it kind of made me angry in the fact that we should never have had to go to court. I mean, it was so obvious right from day one that I couldn't believe that we actually had to go through it all. So, yeah, mixed emotions. Moments of joy and rage.
This wasn't just 2011 damage, this was 2010 damage too, right? So, in fact, this has been 6 years of your life.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
And from very early on in that 6-year period, Tower had a document telling them it was a rebuild.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, no, just mind-blowing that we had to go through it. I mean, the damage is really obvious. You get to the front door and there's a gap that goes across the floor and up each wall beside you that shows where the house has moved. So it's blatantly obvious. But, yeah.
Have you got your money? Has it been sorted?
No. Yeah, the games continue.
Sorry, what other games? Good God, how many games can there be?
They have chosen not to pay the full replacement, but to pay market value, which will be a figure that's probably quite dramatically less, or we can rebuild and ask them for money as required, or we can buy another property. And we found out yesterday that we thought, we'll just buy another property and that'll be the end of it. But we found out yesterday that they'll only pay the price of the house on the property.
Not the land.
And we've got to pay for the land. So defies belief, really, doesn't it?
So what are you going to do?
We are trying to find a house now that the house value matches the figure, and we're going to have to pay for the land.
And will you be able to stay in Christchurch? Will you have to move out of town?
No, we'll stay in Christchurch. There is a small pool of houses like that, and there's also, we've got limited funds. We can't just go out there and get another mortgage if it's too high, as we've still got a mortgage on this property. So there's only so far we can go.
Well, you've still got a mortgage on the property that the dispute with Tower was over?
Yeah, we do.
This is starting to sound like a sick joke. It's starting to sound like a sick joke.
You just have to have so much money to fight them. That's what I've found. Just ridiculous.
We'll try and get Tower, of course, and I'm hoping, because we're pre-recording this interview, I'm hoping that the person from Tower is listening as they wait to talk to us. What would you say to them?
I'd say please let us move on with our lives. It's not just me that they're fighting, it's affecting my family. We had big issues through the court and through Tower ignoring the damage that was being done to my son emotionally. Please just pay us out and let us move on.
That's Greg Young talking to us earlier. Tower Insurance declined to speak with us today. We really did hope they would front to discuss that one, given that it's been through the High Court. It says it's meeting its commitments in respect to both the court judgment and Mr Young's policy. Now, if you have experienced a similar situation where you believe your insurer might have withheld crucial information from you that has a bearing on the payout you're entitled to, we would really love to hear from you. The details are online. You know them. Checkpoint at radionz.co.nz is the email address, which is probably the best way to approach us